All right, let's do this. Okay, let me give a little clap to line this up. Okay. All right. I wanted to do this video kind of differently than I did the last video, which I have pulled up here. And the main reason I wanted to do that is because I usually script out my videos. I write out each of the points. I like to make notes for each of the points and flesh it out. And I feel like it kind of takes away some of the video. I feel like it takes away some of the experience for me. Teaching someone something, one of the things that's really fun about it, or showing someone something, or sharing an idea, is that you kind of get a chance to talk through it and come up with new insights as you go through that process. So let's get right to it. Let me get I'm not even locked in. I'm not even ready. So on the last video, I talked about a phase that I went through in my life where I really couldn't finish anything. I had sort of entered this period of my life where I was struggling with my depression and ADHD sort of at its peak, and I was really starting to become forgetful. My days felt so chaotic. And the truth is, I started to spiral, right? We all know you can have bad days and, here and there, and that's fine. But spiraling is sort of the thing that you want to stay away from. There's a book, Atomic Habits, that we're going to talk about more in this video, where he says that one bad day, no problem, right? 2 bad days, nah. 3 bad days is the start of a new habit. And so when we spiral and we have all these bad days in a row, we kind of get to a place where we've dug ourselves into a hole. And so this video is how I kind of got out of that place, right? With ADHD and all of that, my whole life, I've always struggled with procrastination and things like that. But in the past, I was able to use my willpower and discipline to get past it. And when I bought Create and Go, it was one of the things that I noticed. Right? I noticed this wasn't just me. My friends, my family, customers, there were people all around me that had things in their lives that they cared about, but they weren't finishing. There are so many people in their lives that every day they say that there's these things that they want to do and these things that they want to have. And yet doing the things to get there, to finish it, they kind of just feel impossible. Right? And so I thought I would go through the framework and the question that I like to think through that brings me clarity and helps me to get out of this place. And maybe it'll help you too. So if you haven't seen the last video, it just kind of talks a little bit about my story and how I grew up with ADHD and chronic procrastination and things like that, and sort of how that affected my life. Right? But in this video, we're going to talk about the question that really helped me to break free from that. And that question is, what's worth doing even if you fail? Now, this question, it supersedes every dimension of life. It's valuable for every dimension, whether that's starting a business, whether that's writing a book or creating a project or a website, anything that we want in our lives. This question can apply to it in a way that allows us to make the most out of what we're doing. The other thing about it is that when you choose something that's worth doing, even if you fail, right? See, I have this note over here that I've written about it, where it kind of makes you feel a sense of devotion and intensity, right? It allows you to be committed to this goal, right? And when you choose something that's worth doing, even if you fail, no amount of progress is too small. But when we choose something that isn't worth doing, the lack of reward, the lack of the outcome, right? The time delay to that outcome, that's where we lose motivation. That's where we lose that excitement about something. When you choose something that's worth doing, even if you fail, it allows you to change your mindset about how that thing should feel, right? If the thing doesn't feel good or if it feels uncomfortable at first, you're just going to be like, why the fuck am I doing this? I don't have to do this, right? You can talk yourself out of it. But when it's worth doing, it becomes a value-based thing. It doesn't matter if it feels stressful or if it feels awkward. It's worth doing. And you start to accept a reality that maybe it isn't even supposed to feel easy. Maybe the difficulty and the awkwardness is what's going to make it feel worth it. But there is a question that needs to be kind of answered here. And so I have a couple of notes related to this, where you have to be able to identify what's worth doing, right? You have to be able to pick what's worth doing. And so I've outlined a couple of the resources that really helped me to make this decision in my life. And so you can go check these books out. If you have a public library, they typically will offer these books on audiobook. Most libraries do. Or you can just buy these books if you want to support these authors. If you want more info, they're fantastic, right? But the first one is The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. Now, this book, like Marie Kondo, I can't even put into words how much she affected my life. I found her work when I was really, really struggling to feel connected to my life, for things to really feel like they mattered. And so her book, The Basic Philosophy, is that you need to identify in your life what sparks joy and let go of the rest. We create a lot of complexity for our lives, which is something he also talks about in this book over here, 4,000 Weeks, which is a time management book that kind of gets you to shift your mindset on the fact that life isn't about being as productive as you possibly can and fitting everything in, because you'll never be able to do that. We have too short of a lifespan. It's more about choosing what's worth doing in the short amount of time that we do have, and then ignoring the rest. So those books kind of go hand in hand. But The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up allows you to start from a place of asking yourself, what sparks joy? If you have too many things, your life is too cluttered, you can't take care of the things that matter. You're too distracted, right? And so do yourself a favor to the things that you really do love, the things that you really do care about, and make space for them in your life. And when you identify those things, you start to build up a different way of living. You live more intentionally. What really is powerful about this book that I think a lot of people overlook is, I love the phrase that how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you focus on a few things instead of many, you can do those things well. So that's a great place to start. Look through your business, look through your project, what thing you're working on, what parts of it are draining you, and what parts of it sound exciting, right? For me, in filming videos, like trying to plan out each part, script out each part, that was taking away the fun for me, right? That bleeds into this note here, Warren Buffett. There's a parable kind of associated with Warren Buffett. I'm sure he didn't even say it, but that's kind of how these go, right? Like Warren Buffett feels like the new Confucius almost. But in this parable, Buffett tells his pilot, Mike Flint, to write down his top 25 career goals. And he tells him to circle the top 5 things that really matter, right? The 5 that are like, if I only could do 5 things in my whole life, I would do these 5, right? And then the other 20 on the list, Buffett says that he should avoid at all costs. And these are going to be the biggest source of distractions, right? His reasoning is that the good opportunities that you're tempted to dabble in are far more dangerous to your focus than the really obviously bad ones. They give you a false sense of progress. And that's what 4,000 Weeks reminds us, is there are going to be infinite things that you could be doing, ways that you could be spending your time. And you have to ask, what are the things that are worth doing if I could only do 4, 5, 6? Maybe I could only do one thing for the rest of my life. What would that thing be? And the second question that he kind of positions in the book is he focuses a lot on this concept of love, and that love is not we say this phrase, right? It's the thought that counts, right? When we do something nice or we're showing love for someone. It is actually the willingness to inconvenience yourself. It's the inconvenience that counts, right? And so I love that question, because we should be doing things for the love of it, for the love of the game, right? And so it starts to make you ask yourself, like, what do I really love? Do I love myself? If I do, I'd be willing to inconvenience myself by going to the gym, right? Do I love my work? If so, I would be willing to inconvenience myself by getting on camera and feeling like awkward about it, right? The last kind of example here, the last note that I wanted to pull on was multi-dimensional goal setting. And so one of the things that I love about sort of how we frame things is you can make things that don't feel worth doing by combining them with other things. The goal with multidimensional goal setting is holistic well-being. And what I mean by that is it's kind of like one goal, 3 stones. How 3 goals, 1 stone? You get it. We're trying to hit on multiple areas or dimensions of well-being with a singular goal. Say I want to film more, right? Which I'm practicing, right? Say I want to spend more time with my dad and say I want to get in the gym more, right? Like I'm trying to get, you know what I mean? Like, say I want to do those three things, but each of them on their own, they kind of sound vague, and it's kind of like, that feels like a lot of work. I've already filled up my day right there with those three goals. But what I like to do is ask myself, how can I combine or stack these goals in a way that allows me to maximize what I'm getting out of my short time, right? So I might say, I'll go to the gym and I'll film a video in my car in the morning at the gym. Or maybe I'll go to the gym with my dad, right? And after the gym, I'll film a short video in the car with my dad just to keep the memories. Now, that's a daily ritual that I can do that allows me to improve three goals or three areas of my life, and it becomes really worth doing. I want you to kind of think about what's worth doing in your social life. Maybe you're married. Maybe you're like, I was talking to Donna in the community the other day, and she has kids and she loves spending time with her kids, but sometimes she finds herself like procrastinating on her work by trying to split spending time with her kids and doing her work instead of kind of making time to do both so she can be fully present for both. Maybe she spends some time with her kids and she gets them to write with her. Like maybe they make a daily ritual where now she can combine the effort of working on her business and writing more with spending time with her kids. So for me, an example of some things that have been worth doing in my life as of late is I've been cleaning my dad's shop, right? I've been cleaning up his shop with him because it is just a mess. It's chaos in there. And it's really hard to enjoy the things in your life when you have too much clutter. Another example is I went and spent time with my grandmother the other day. I wrote a newsletter about this, about going to stay the night with her in the hospital for her birthday. Right? That was something that was worth doing, even though I knew I probably wouldn't sleep much that night in the hospital, that I don't like hospitals very much because of when I was an EMT. But it was worth doing, right? Another example is the novel I'm working on, A Machine Called Empathy. It's something that I do in my free time. And now it's a way I get to collaborate with one of the people in the community. So she has a community where she wants to teach people how to go from idea to their first chapter. And so now I get to take this idea and all these little pieces from my novel that have been worth doing, right? Even if I have never wrote a novel, it was a fun creative exercise. But now it gets to benefit one of my customers in the community. And so I get to be her first customer. And that's really cool. Another example is I have been working on preserving my memory and my ideas inside of this system, CreateOS, for almost 2 years now, where when I was struggling with my memory and struggling with keeping track of my friends and my family and myself, I really was disconnected from my life. And there was like this version I had of myself in my head that I wasn't really living up to. Externalizing things into CreateOS and preserving my memories and stories inside of this system, and then training an AI on it so I could talk to myself, like an extension of myself. Right? Another example is I started a community that has been really fun to be in, like having a group of people that struggled with the things that I struggled with finishing things. And now I have a place where I can help them. Like it doesn't get more meaningful than that. Like this is what I would do for the rest of my life if I could do nothing else, is help people finish the things that matter to them, right? Creating a system to keep up with my life and to preserve my memories and my conversations and all of those things, like nothing has been more important for my personal life. And now I get to teach people who are struggling with their memory or struggling with managing their projects in life how to do the same thing with something I made. And like, that makes me proud. Like there are a few things in my life that make me giddy and make me just proud, but like, yeah, that is one of them. Let's talk about a few more reasons of why it's important to pick things that are worth doing even if you fail. And these are a couple examples mainly pulled from this book, Atomic Habits. One of the best books of all time, honestly. It's probably in my top 3, right? And so the plateau of latent potential really, really articulates this well. Because when we start something, right, we think that the progress should be linear. And the thing is that that's not really how progress happens. That's not really how change happens, or anything that emerges from from work, most things in life are a lagging indicator. So when you really start something, you go through this phase for a long time called the valley of disappointment. And let me just warn you, it doesn't matter if you etch this into your mind. If you got this branded on your forehead, you would still catch yourself in the valley of disappointment being like, I'm disappointed.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Knowing that the valley of disappointment is there and that that's what it's going to feel like in the beginning doesn't make it less disappointing. So just kind of accept that, like, yeah, when I start something new, this shit's going to be disappointing. It's just going to hit like that. And that is what it is. The beautiful thing is that this work isn't wasted, right? It shows here that what actually happens is we have a breakthrough point where we break through this plateau, and this sort of resembles, if you've ever seen like a compound interest calculator, it is like our efforts have compounded into the results that we wanted, or that the outcomes that we're trying to achieve, sometimes even greater than those. It's something that if we take the time to really pay attention to, we realize that most of our work that feels wasted is actually just being stored. And so that's really what he's trying to show us with this plateau, is that it's kind of, he uses the example of heating an ice cube. If you heat that ice cube up from 0 to 31 degrees in a freezer, nothing will happen to that ice cube at first. Right? 0 to 31, it'll look like, right? We'll be in the valley of disappointment. It'll look like nothing changed. But at 32, 33 degrees, 34 degrees, suddenly that ice cube will start to melt, and we will start to see that plateau break. And so that work wasn't wasted. It was just being stored. That is something that is really important to keep in mind, because when we're failing, right? Which is one of the other points, is that you're going to fail. Like, I'm not going to tell you, like, if there's somebody out there that tells you that you're not going to fail, they're lying. Maybe they got the perfect plan. Maybe got the perfect blueprint. They got like a checklist so good, you're not going to miss a single thing. And I promise you, you're still going to fail once, twice, 3 times, maybe 100 times. It's like, I'm almost more sure that you're going to fail than like than that we're going to die one day. Like, it's going to happen. The thing is, when you accept that, when you just accept the reality that I'm going to fail, you can start to create the things that you wish you always had, because you're going to solve the problems that are worth solving. You know, the first try didn't work. The second try didn't work. The third way might work. Some of it works, but some of it doesn't. That's how it felt to make CreateOS, right? It was like a year and a half of systems and reading books and implementing things and trying to create this thing that is so simple my parents could use it. When you show up a little bit every day, and you show up and you make an effort, just a little bit, in this example he uses just 1% better every day, you can start to create that compounding improvement. Again, this looks like it's compounding, right? Because it's worth doing, and you show up more and more and more, no matter how small, right? If it's worth going to the gym, then it's worth putting your running shoes on. If something is worth doing, it's worth doing 1% every day. Just like, I'm not asking you for 99. I'm asking you for 1%. Can you show up just 1% better, right? And this works a lot like, I love this analogy. I don't know if you've ever tried one of these, like old-fashioned water pumps. They used to have them at the Gator Farm, like where I'm from, Louisiana, and we have alligator parks and alligator farms. And I used to go and, you go get some water, and you would have to pump this thing. You got to pump the shit out of it like 3, 4, 5 times, and nothing will come out at first, right? But on that 6th pump, 7th pump, it'll start to come out, and the water will start to flow. And if you keep pushing the pump, it'll get easier and easier, and that effort will start to compound, and you'll yield more water for less effort. That's kind of the reason that you need to pick things that are worth doing. Like, I want you to understand that it isn't just about feeling good. It isn't just about like, this is good for ADHD, or this is good. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. There are benefits to picking things that are worth doing, even if you fail. Like, it is one of the easiest ways to make what you're doing worth it. So the question then, right, the question that I want to leave you with is, what's worth doing even if you fail, right? What's worth doing even if no one sees it? I have a note here. This is one of my favorite notes in my vault. I keep it to remind myself of the people in my community, right? What's worth doing even if they fail? Like, Marcos is trying to build a business that unites his family and allows him to show his kids that it doesn't matter what you're struggling with or dealing with, you can still maintain confidence and feel good about yourself. And I respect what he's doing so much. Or John, one of my really good friends, he's writing a book about connection and morality and what connects us and makes community powerful and worth it, right? Jennifer, she's helping people finish their book. She's helping me. These people are all doing something that's worth doing. And so my job, like what I get to do, helping people finish things, nothing makes me happier than seeing these people finish the things that they want to do to reach their goals. And so I like to keep them around to remind myself that this is worth doing. I really just ask you, like, take 5 minutes, 10 minutes out of your day. Just, go find a notebook or get a note-taking app and just make a note. At the very top, I just want you to write, what's worth doing even if I fail? Like, what do you have to lose, right? If it's worth doing, maybe it's worth sharing. So post it in the comments, like share it. I'd love to hear about it. I love seeing what is worth doing for other people because I think that's really where the passion is. I think that's where the devotion and the commitment really comes from. And in later videos, I'm going to talk about like actionable steps to pursue the things that are worth doing even if we fail. So if you enjoyed this, I think you'll enjoy that. And I appreciate you giving me a shot doing something a little bit different. And I will see you all in the next video, okay?